Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. This is episode 7, which in fact is a continuation of episode 6, because Archangel Gabriel, who was speaking through Samuel the Angelic Knight, decided to elaborate on the topic we were discussing.
Greetings, soul family. My name is Samuel Hibbert. I go by Samuel the Angelic Knight. I am a spiritual advisor and divine channeler. My purpose is to be a beacon of love that reaches the hearts and raises the consciousness of those on the planet. I do this by choosing to be an instrument of divine inspiration, motivation, and activation through messages that are nutritional for the soul. As a spiritual advisor, I aid people in creating a life filled with their highest good and joy. I utilize holistic, spiritual, and metaphysical practices to minister to the 3 components that make up the human being: physical, mental, and spiritual, ultimately helping them discover and articulate and express the divine treasure that is themselves. Thank you. Greetings, dearest ones. We greet you with love and compassion. But on this day, we feel the need to address. And what is it that we address today? We address the yearning and the thirst of souls for knowledge, for those seeking their truths on their spiritual evolution and path. Dearest ones, before you have been 4 channels, 4 divine souls who have exercised their ability to allow themselves to step aside and allow the divine to use them, to speak through them. And there are those of you who watch this and are enthralled and are quite familiar. And there are some of you who are curious, where it tickles your understanding. And then there are those who are moved by the messages that reverberate in their words and are affecting your soul. But your logic mind, your ego mind is in the way. Perhaps it is telling you things. Perhaps you are believing that what you see before you and how it is articulated may go against the imprints of perhaps your religious beliefs. Or perhaps this resonates with you, but you do not know how this fits in with the way you were raised or your religious beliefs. Or yet again, there may be even those who see this, and if watching do not have the skeptical mind, they look at this and they say, beware, for your concern is perhaps of non-beneficial energies affecting those who allow themselves to be instruments in this way. Dearest children of light, please sit. Allow us to illuminate some of the fog around these concerns and subject. First and foremost, dearest ones, all of you are divine beings. What do you mean by that? There is once you are created from source, most high, God, whatever name is most comfortable for you to digest, the all, the creator of all things, the divine sea of love, of infinite love. Your soul is eternal, more ancient and vast than you can imagine. And it is an aspect of that most high from which it was made. And what you currently sit in, your corporeal shell, your body, your physical temple, houses it. So we ask you, for those of you whose ego is attempting to use logic to dissuade you from what your spirit feels, as spiritual beings housed in a temporary physical temple, if you are spiritual beings, then wouldn't it be logical that the physical temple you are in can integrate with the physical being you truly are? What do you mean by that? Let's say it more plainly. You are not your physical body. You are an eternal spiritual being created from source. This eternal being is housing a temporary body, but in the infinite wisdom and genius that is source, your physical temple is created to integrate completely with your divine being, meaning that your body can do things greater than the proposed limitations of the three dimension. Meaning, as spiritual beings, as you expand your consciousness, as you expand and raise your vibration, as you allow your soul to expand and be filled with more from which it has come from, that being source, right? Then the natural abilities of your soul will permeate in your physical shell, thus allowing you to activate more gifts than beyond the five senses that your modern science tries to convince you you're only capable of. There is ones, as the channel before us spoke about intuition. Well, we can explain that too on a physical level. Look at other animals that are not as sentient as humans. They live off their base instincts, although they all too have a connection to source, sometimes a clearer one. And this intuition, these instincts tell them where to go for water, for food, from danger. Is the same not true with you, human? Do you not get feelings that tell you, pause? Do you not get information that you feel in your core that sways you one way or the other? There is ones, that is intuition, that is your innate ability, that is the innate ability of your soul connected to the omnipotent omnipresence of the divine love that is God. It is the reverberation, it is the reflection of God, the Most High, within you, manifesting in small ways. So, to those who, the loving humanity, who have built their relationship with Source through particular religious practices, We are not here to make judgment on any religious practice, for the original intention of any religion or spiritual practice is for the individual practicing to strengthen their relationship with God. And God, Source, was around before your divine souls incarnated on this planet as the mammals you now call humans. And so it would be a bit short-sighted to believe that the infinite I am can fit in any one belief. So when you realize that Source, God, is infinite, then you realize that the infinite God that wants to connect with reflections of itself being you, it does so like it does everything else, intimately, vigorously, and in a multitude, an infinite multitude of ways. Which is why in many of Earth's religious practices, at its core, beyond the ego of humans, there are divine principles. You see, the universal divine principles, dearest ones, those do not change. And if you want to know what path may be good, look toward the divine principles of love, compassion, self-love, honesty, and integrity. And yes, dearest ones, there are great souls that have incarnated on this planet who have been the very embodiment of these divine principles, who have chosen to lead others on the spiritual evolution, to reforge that connection, that intimate connection with Source, to remind you, while you are on the planet, of your true heritage, of your true divine nature. Divine, beautiful, majestic souls such as ascended masters, Master Yeshua, ascended masters like the Buddha. It is man's ego that uses religious practices at times to divide, but that is not what the true nature is. And when you look at the champions of these divine principles, they preach and generate love. They are not in competition because they serve the Most High, from which we all derive from. So, dearest ones, some of you believe that these spiritual gifts and practices are only for a select few, that you think that perhaps a common person, your words, not the divines, can wield these gifts. But we will use the examples of ascended masters such as Master Yeshua, popularly called Jesus, to remind you, those who are religious, of why that is silly. Did Jesus, Master Yeshua, did he not remind you of the divinity that lies within inside you? Did he not remind you that if you follow the divine principles from which he is the incarnation of, that the works that he does, you too will do greater than these? Did he not call you brethren and say that my brethren are those that do the will of the Most High? And what is the Most High? What is Source? What is God? God is love. So those that reflect, that embody, that embrace love are my brethren. Is it not in your religious texts the expectation that as you establish and strengthen your connection with Source, another name for it, raise your vibration, as your vibration begins to harmonize with that of the Most High, by being righteous, by being love, by practicing divine principles of which these great teachers came to teach us, that these gifts will activate, that miracles, you should expect to do miracles in faith. What is faith? Faith is your relationship with the Most High. You see, there is one, some of you, when you see a seemingly personality, a different change in the vocal patterns take over, you are wary. Let's address that firmly. Lower conscious vibrations and lower energies do not create that which some of you fear. Do not create gifts nor talents. They are innate abilities that lie within you because you are a part of Source. You are part of divinity and this journey of life is for you to remember that, but more than just remember, to embody, embrace, discover, and express your unique soul expression of that source from which it comes from. And that manifests in a multitude of ways. There is once. Some use the words saints, humans who have done great things for other humans and now are respected and venerated. There are those who ask for their intercession. There is nothing wrong with that. There is no true death. And others use the words, I ask my ancestors to guide me on my path. And nothing is wrong with that. And others use the word spirit. And that is true. You see, there is ones we are showing you that just because you use different names, just because you use different phrases, the divine truth in them are not different. Our channel uses this analogy, and we will articulate it back to you. For those of you yearning, searching, religion to this channel, original purpose for religion. It's religion's purpose when in full integrity is like Kung Fu's original purpose in integrity. Kung Fu martial arts. Follow us. There is one. Sit. We are having fun, as so should you. Martial arts is created as a way of self-expression and a way of physically exercising and getting to spiritual enlightenment. Many of the oldest practices and philosophies behind martial arts are quite spiritual, because martial arts in its truth is spiritual. That reverts back to the divine being in the physical temple, physical, mind, and spirit. Martial arts, physical exercise, physical techniques that help you self-explore and elevate yourself and consciousness. So, one might say, what is the best martial arts? And you can list off a plethora of them. But the truth is, there is no martial art that is greater than another, for it is up to the individual practitioner, their skill with their chosen modality of martial arts that helps them. Their chosen modality of martial arts that helps them. So you go to one who practices Wing Chun or another Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Which one is better? That is not dependent upon the technique. It is dependent upon the practitioner. And this directly relates to the original use of religion beyond the ego of man and its rules. And when misused, religion were spiritual practices that one person used to strengthen, discover, and exemplify their own personal relationship with the Most High. And they repeat these practices, and it helps them raise their vibration, helps them raise their consciousness, helps them harmonize with the flow of the divine. Yes. What are we saying plainly, dearest ones? We are saying, dearest ones, for those of you who grew up religious, that is beautiful and nothing wrong with that. But now you're expanding your consciousness and you're trying to figure out where it is in all the balance. Where does it fit in the puzzle? Or there are some of you who become conscious and you condemn the spiritual practices or religion because you have seen where ego, unchecked, has used something good to cause great contrast. And indeed, speaking truthfully, great suffering to others. But that was not the spiritual practices in themselves. That was the person using it out of divine integrity. Using it out of divine integrity. Religion is your own personal relationship, how you choose to build your relationship with Source. And what works for you is in truth and beautiful. And what works for another, if it follows the divine principles that we spoke about, is fine for them. So you're wondering about chakras. My spiritual practice that I was raised with doesn't mention chakras. Are chakras real? Chakras are just the wheelhouse and energy centers of your spiritual being that is housed in certain places in your physical temple, the physical working with the spiritual. For why would Source, God, give you a vehicle to operate in if it did not integrate with the full potential that the spirit can? That is not logical. my logical friends. That is not logical. Whatever you call it, it is all connected. And you all are all connected through love. And each one of you are on your own soul's evolution and soul's journey. We give you this lesson today, again, to not chastise anyone on their journey or their beliefs, but to instead look deeper and remember the divine principles of love, compassion, just as the ascended masters who walk the planet as humans, as you do now, have. They embodied love. They embodied forgiveness. They embodied self-love. And that is what we ask of you. And as you expand, as you build your relationship with the Most High, as you build your relationship with Source, whatever name resonates with you, your soul, you're like a cup, a container. And as you expand, you hold more of that divine infinite ocean. And it bursts forward. And with it, you discover the treasures of your soul, the treasures of yourself, and those abilities. It could be psychic ones. All of you are psychic. It's another sense. It's a muscle that you must learn to hear, to develop, just like any other of your corporeal temple's muscles. Or it could be gifts such as singing and art. And what do you do with those? You express yourself as co-creators. Source wants to express itself through you, allowing you to use your free divine will and express yourself in beautiful ways. And when you are fully in the flow and in that love, you actually become in service to it. You step aside as this channel and the channels before do to allow other consciousness from the divine through your intention to be instruments of love, of wisdom. How many times has a painting inspired or a song? Each unique. And yes, your gift may be similar to another's. There may be more than one singer on the planet. But we say to that, all snow is cold, but every snowflake has a unique, intricate design. The same is true for your souls, dearest ones. All of you, all of us, not just humans, but us too, are made from Source. But each of us has unique, intricate design that Source, God, intimately made. If you're looking to expand, do not get bogged down on what practice is greater or another. That breeds division. And that is not love, that is not God. Instead, look only to further your relationship, further the intimacy you have with Source. And then you will be in service to it. And not the service that modern societies use in a derogatory term. No, not its service with derogatory connotations, but true service is one with your divine free will. And when you're in that flow, you realize that This divine flow is working actively for your highest good and highest joy, and you with it. And therefore your will becomes to be in service to the will of Source, which is love. And then the words of the ascended Master Yeshua, this channel loves him, so we use his analogies often, become clearer when he said, I do not speak. The words I speak are not on my own authority, but on the authority of the Father. For the Father works through me and I in him. I am in the Father and the Father is in me. I am in Source. I am in God and God is in me. And therefore my will is the will of God, because I have died. My spiritual ego has died. And I have been reborn as my highest, fullest, most loving, expressive self, the divinity that I was born from. And I reflect that which I am. And what I am is divine treasure, is love. And that Ascended Master invites us and reminds us that we too are exactly that. And so whomever you choose to help you, whether you call them saints, your ancestors, your spirit guides, animal spirits, or the ascended masters, all, if they embody and reflect the divine principles, are more than worthy and lovingly support you. Forgive us, for we know this was quite a lengthy channel. But this was what needed to be said. And we have been moving this particular channeler to articulate this. We love you, dearest ones. If you are developing divine treasures of your soul that you do not understand, remember, do not fear. It is not something spooky. It is not something wrong or bad. You are expanding, and with it comes gifts. You will know. And if you are unsure, the great thing is all you have to do is ask Source. Ask Source to guide you, to be with you. You will know, because Source does not lead to do things that are out of harmony with the divine principles of love, compassion, and self-love. We invite you to embrace the divine sea, be engulfed by it, be born anew in it, and arise to your greatest self, living fully with your highest good and highest joy. That is your divine right. Children of Source, heirs to heaven. It is within you. It is within you. We are most grateful for your time. With infinite love, compassion, and great gratitude, we bid you namaste, laudote, domino.